Jarvis, drop my needle.
Hello, this is the hardcore legend Mick Foley, and if you are interested in listening to idiots, you came to the right place. Have a nice day.
Woo! That's an attention getter.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot. What we're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
Oh my God, he's an idiot.
You know, of course, that you're out of your jurisdiction.
Personally, I think you're an idiot.
But that's the evidence in the car.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Always like to keep my audience riveted.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fiends, and welcome to Free Range Idiocy, the podcast about everything, but mostly just the stuff we like. This time around, we're going to be talking about one of the most attempted, but least successfully pulled wrestling gimmicks in the business, the double turn. How do you make the good guy, the bad guy, and the bad guy, the good guy, all in the same match? Well, unless you have a brain somewhere between Paul Heyman and Jim Cornette, chances are your ideas are wrong.
You're wrong.
However, back in 1996, Vince and the WWF managed to pull this trick off to great success during the biggest show of the year. How'd they do it? We're going to watch the match and find out in this episode 141, the double turn, Austin versus Hart from Wrestlemania 13. I am your Uncle Todd, and with me, as always, is the man who to this day insists that he is the only person to ever successfully counter the sharpshooter while eating a plate of steak tips. He has been my partner in Idiocy for over 2 decades and will probably bust himself wide open sometime during this episode. I give you the man they call Tim.
You see, the trick is in the steak sauce. That's how you get out of it.
It makes you slippery.
Greetings and salutations, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Was it a matter of like slithering away, or did you just like, how did that work?
It's viscous. It also blinds your opponent. So, either way.
So it's like a Mr. Fuji thing. Like you just hurl the steak sauce at him.
You just kind of throw the tip at it, throw the steak tip at him with little sauce on it. And it's like blinds him, and then, you're free to go. So
there you go. Well, I'm doing all right. How are you doing, sir?
I am well.
Very
just
good.
Counting down the days for the ablation where I can be freed from the prison that is this ridiculous stinking AFib thing I'm going through.
We need to come up with an ablation theme song for you. I'm not sure what that is, but where's Rick Derringer when you need him?
I'm willing to go with the People's Court theme because as we established in the pre-production meeting, it's got some it brings the funk, baby.
Well, no, we're gonna hold off on that. We're gonna hold off on that until it's appropriate, But oh yeah, it slaps. Really looking forward to you having that procedure, sir. Well, one, because I really genuinely want you to be healthy and to feel good. And number two, it's not happening to me, so I'm all for it. Because as we all know, any surgery is
about it.
Every surgery is minor as long as it's not happening to you.
Absolutely.
So, but anyways, we are going to delve into some wrestling in this episode, and then in the Week in Geek, we're going to deal with more wrestling. So you know what? How about we just dive into that right now without further ado, or a don't?
Week in Geek.
Feels so funky.
Sir, what we got for the Week in Geek?
This Week in Geek, similar to our prior episode, is a little light on the web-sourced content and a little more just kind of based in, some things that we've been kind of tracking and following or participating in, depending on the situation. So,
wait a minute, are you trying to tell me that you were part of that AEW CM Punk Jungle Boy dust-up? Were you at Wembley?
I might have provoked Jack Perry into his foolishness. Let's just say
Where were you on the night of...
But I was there throwing steak tips at him to blind him, so Punk got him in that front. He goozled him, I say.
You grab him by the goozle pipe, and then you squeeze.
Good Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not experienced Jim Cornette, you need to play, we will happily shill for Uncle Corny's podcast.
I'm putting the whole link to the episode that we're going to be talking about. It will be in the show notes. It is it's an hour long, but it is so worth it.
You have to put the Goozle episode on, or at least a clip to the Goozle as well, because that's not part of that hour.
You're right. You are so right. Let me make sure I write that down.
Just the pure just I don't know what to call like the weariness in his voice when Cornette realizes that he has to explain to his co-host what goozling is. And
like, oh my gosh,
I have to do everything here.
Like, what are they teaching kids in school these days? It ought to be history and goozling. I mean, come on. It's one of the...
Right. Well, our first item is a non-goozle situation, which is Tales from the Fantasy Gridiron. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back into fantasy football land.
And by we, what, you got a mouse in your pocket over there?
Uncle Todd is a full participant. No, I'm kidding.
Unless you took a team and you named it after me, and it's on autopilot.
Even everything out. I kind of had to. So it's going to be the Uncle Todd Memorial Squad. You know,
was that seriously what it's called?
No, I'm kidding. I did
good?
not.
That's a good rhyme. Uncle Todd's Memorial Squad. Like, I like that.
That's true. I'm joking. I did not have to create a faux team, but if I ever have to in future seasons, you will be fully employed as the Uncle Todd Memorial Squad.
Perfect. So. I'm fine with that as long as I don't have to participate.
All right. Well, over the Labor Day weekend, we did have a fantasy draft for our fly-by-night fantasy football league. My team is the Quick Slants, named thusly after one of the John Madden-esque plays from back in the day. Overall, Yahoo graded my draft a C. I'm right in the middle of the pack, so an average draft, which is fine by me. I took this is a first for me. Is my first year without Tom Brady at the helm as quarterback. So I'm wandering into a little bit of an unknown.
So who is your quarterback is the question. Who is your quarterbacks? Do you have a definitive number one?
I selected Lamar Jackson.
Oh, that's not a bad pick at all, dude.
Well, he has been dealing with injuries, so it's a bit of a crapshoot. But
so much upside there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who you got for a backup then?
My backup is let me just scroll down. Dak Prescott from Dallas.
Oh my God! See, there's I would have rather taken a middle of the road dude who's fairly reliable. Dak seems like he don't know what he wants to quite be.
Well,
over the last few, at least just in the little bit I've been following the NFL, like he seems like he's,
yeah. Well, if Lamar stays healthy, then we may not need to lean on Dak except for bye week. So
the ever present optimism of, well, if this happens and if this happens and if this happens, I'll go 16-0 this year.
That's right. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. Week one. Lamar broke his femur.
Yeah, in week one. Derrick Henry and Ramondre Stevenson. Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans and Ramondre of the New England Patriots are my two running backs.
Henry's still playing for the Titans?
Henry is still playing for the Titans.
Interesting.
Debo Samuel. Debo is
I love me some
receiver.
Debo. Love me some Debo.
Tyler Lockett, also a wide receiver. Brandon Ayuk is one of the wide receivers I selected. Who else did I get?
Wow, you can tell. I can tell so badly how much I have not followed football because once you got past the first couple names, I'm like, who?
Devonta Smith. Hey, my sleeper pick in round 16, a kicker by the name of Cameron Dicker. So.
So
had to make that one count.
We're getting into dick kick territory. Okay.
Indeed. What else do I have here? Dak, we already talked about. Chris Godwin of the Godwin brothers.
Did you bring a slot bucket to the field?
Basically, Phineas and what's his name? I forget.
Phineas and what's his name? My God, who is that other
Phineas
guy?
Phineas and Henry O'Godwin. That's
jeez.
Yeah, good stuff. Kansas City and New England are my defenses. My primary kicker is Young Ho Koo from Atlanta. So overall, I'm pretty.
Wait, so you're carrying two kickers?
Yeah, I got two kickers because you got to deal with the bye week. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, so. But I always, well, then again, I mean, yeah, I haven't won a championship in a long time. I always held off on the second kicker and then just picked anyone up. right before the bye week.
That's the other way of doing it. I actually felt pretty loaded in the running back wide receiver category, so I decided to throw a little over at the kicker and defense categories. By the way, last year I was the crowned champion of our league, so I come in as the defending champion.
Oh, good for you.
Believe I will once again conquer, as
good
I have
for you.
In the past, and I'm still working on Uncle Todd. I think he'll be back next season. So
no, this is going to be my second year away from fantasy football, and you know what? It feels pretty damn good. It's.
I know you want to.
The only thing I can equate is when I finally kicked heroin. It's
good God,
just such a relief.
Good God. All right. Well,
I'm just kidding. I'm still taking it. No.
Yeah. You sound like the Bill Nighy from like you ever see Love Actually?
Oh yeah. Oh, when he's the best part of that flick.
when he's on that show and he's like,
yes.
Kids, don't do drugs. Become a singer and they'll give them to you for free.
I know. Don't buy drugs and they'll give them to you. Oh, he is literally. He is the best part of anything that he is in. The episode of Doctor Who that he was in, he was just chef's kiss. One of those guys who I wish he were in. He's sort of like the Tim Curry of our time now. Like he just shows up in so many things, and he's delightful in all of them. And to tag onto the Tim Curry thing, I got to put in a quick plug. Just watched The Hunt for Red October the other day. Actually, no, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday or Monday. I can't remember. But then Tim Curry in that, at a point when, who said anything about sabotage? Captain, like just that, this weird mixture of like disgust, like exasperation and shock, and then all these emotions all at once. I'm like, and he does it perfectly. It's great. Yeah, absolutely great. He's a perfect like Russian, the perfect Russian doctor for a submarine.
Indeed,
which is you can't say that about every actor.
No, you can't. You can't. So that's all there is from the Fantasy Gridiron, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have weekly updates. I'll let you know how my team is doing. Week 1 will be contested
we're
this
just
week.
Every 4 weeks, I think, is just fine.
No, this will be a weekly gig. So we're gonna push you off an Ahsoka hot take till next week. So we're gonna jump
drinking
right.
Jack Daniels out of a bottle with a straw by the end of this year.
It's good for Wales. But let's jump over to some big news that occurred in the world of wrestling over the Labor Day weekend. CM Punk unceremoniously fired from AEW on Saturday of all days. He basically this closes the book on a 2-year, very tumultuous tour with that company. 2 years ago, roughly. We were talking about his triumphant return and what had to be one of the best returns that I've ever seen, for a wrestler coming back into a fold of some kind, and he came back with a lot of fervor and had a really good,
Would you say that it was much ballyhooed?
Much ballyhooed, yes.
Yes, okay.
Not suspect.
No, not whatsoever.
Had a pretty strong first 10 months or so, and then the drama began with some back and forth with Hangman Adam Page, which Punk ended up defeating him for the AEW World Title, and then I believe he got injured, came back, beat Jon Moxley for the title, and then had his infamous rant, probably about a yearish or so ago, where he just absolutely went off on the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. So Young Bucks are Matt and Nick Jackson, Kenny Omega. They are all 3 executive vice presidents of AEW. Basically due to a lot of the tomfoolery and chicanery that was kind of going on at the time. Which led to the Hangman Adam Page drama. him just not having a short fuse, or he has a short fuse, not having a long fuse, I suppose, for children behaving the way that they are, with rumors and gossip, and
he doesn't suffer fools gladly.
No, he does not. And there's a whole long backstory, but long story short, a lot of the drama was potentially started by some of these members of this group, the Elite, Kenny Omega, Matt, Nick Jackson, Hangman Adam Page, leaking stuff about different things with him, and just it turning into a very contentious sort of situation. And he kind of went off. He was also injured. He tore his tricep in the Jon Moxley match, so he was basically out for several months after that. But that ended up turning into he pretty directly called them out in the press conference, and then apparently afterwards they broke into his locker room, where there was a brawl that ensued, and just there was a lot of craziness. So all in all, it was a very ugly situation, something that really you don't really see or hear reported very often in wrestling. And so CM Punk goes away, he heals up. The Bucks and Kenny Omega were suspended for a period of time. They all come back. Now we fast forward to thank you. Now we fast forward to his return I think it was like end of July, beginning of August, with this show Collision.
Yeah, they had to give the man his own show, like to separate, like just a preview of how childish and foolish this company is. They had to give CM Punk his own show so he could be separate from these other idiots.
Yes, and
to coexist.
And I think in some ways there was like a soft like roster split, they called it, because there were certain folks who were I don't mean to say friends of CM Punk's, but certain folks who were aligned with him, who wanted to work with him, who wanted to be a part of that show. And the show had a very different feel to it. It did feel like a very, wrestling focused show, really good action in the ring, really good storylines. It's really funny to hear Uncle Corny talk about when he watches AEW Dynamite and when he would watch, Collision, and just how different those shows felt in terms of the quality of the wrestling, the quality of the stories, the quality of the product. So all in all, Punk comes back. Things are looking good. They go to this pay-per-view All In Wembley Stadium in London, and the wheels come off again. So apparently several weeks before that pay-per-view, Punk was called in by some of now if what I've read online is what is in fact the truth, I have to caveat all this with that. Yeah, what basically happened at a Collision airing was Jack Perry wanted to, he was called Jungle Boy, he's now just Jack Perry, Luke Perry's son, by the way, wanted to do a bit where he was going to go through a plate glass like windshield of a car, or I don't know if it was a coffee table or something, but they didn't want him doing it because of the dangers of it. Again, Jim Cornette goes into great detail in his shows a few weeks ago about why glass is so really dangerous, because you have very little control over what it's doing and what it's going to sever potentially. So yeah. And so Punk was called in to shut it down, and they got into a pretty, intense argument, it sounds like, and Jack Perry was not thrilled with this. Fast forward to All In at Wembley. He's fighting Hook, who is Taz's son, and they're about to do a bit on the windshield of a car, and Jack Perry looks into the camera and says, this is real glass, cry me a river, which basically was a provocative line meant for Punk. Punk, of course, is basically on next with his match with Samoa Joe. And so what ends up happening is when Perry comes back, there's some altercation that happens between the two of them with an argument going on. And basically Punk probably confronting him, being like, WTF, what is this about? Now, there's a lot of stories of what exactly happened. We're not going to get into all of that because we weren't there. We don't know anyone who was there. So, but if we go off of Uncle Corny, who is a little more connected to the wrestling business than we are,
to say the least,
it sounds like if you go with Uncle Corny's story, CM Punk goozled Jack Perry, and we will have a link to what exactly goozling is, because he goes into great depth about it.
Fan-freaking-tastic, ladies and gentlemen.
It is entertaining as
and educational. It's educational, ladies and gentlemen, because you never know. You never know when you might need to goozle somebody. As Corny says, well, Brian, have you not ever goozled someone in the course of your normal day? And he's like, no, I've never had to goozle someone like at the doctor's office. And Jim's like, well, if I had to count, probably 10 or 12 people I've had to goozle in my life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what a fracking world this is.
Indeed. And what's funny to me is like CM Punk feels on the surface like someone who Corny would hate. You know what I mean? Like Uncle Corny is a hard person to please, but he really is into Punk, and I think he's into Punk because he appreciates Punk's respect for the business. Punk is old school, and
let's put it this way, and this is just to break into your thing real quick.
Yes.
I think 30 years ago, Punk is someone that Cornette would have not gotten along with and not liked. I think given the current climate of professional wrestling, Cornette was like, this is the closest thing to what I remember my professional wrestling being. At least this is a guy who respects the business, who respects the history, and who actually treats this seriously. Yeah. As opposed to like how a lot of folks do now. Now, I mean, granted, I'm on record as saying that I think Uncle Corny can be a little bit of a, get off of my lawn, you dang kids sort of thing. Yeah. He can be a bit of a stick in the mud, and there probably ain't anything since like 1989 that he likes in professional wrestling. However, I think that there are some valid points that he makes from many times in terms of like how the business ought to be, how it ought to be treated in terms of like, hey, it's about this. It's not about all this other crap. Because ultimately, I think that's what connects people to it, is that emotion. And so, I mean, I think right now it's almost like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Not really, but it's like that sort of thing where he's like, this is the closest thing today to what I can respect. And it's partly because in a way, and here's a line that you're not going to often see drawn. Like, honestly, CM Punk is sort of like the Bernie Sanders of professional wrestling. He's uncompromising. Yes. And in that way, there's people who, even if they don't like him, can at least respect him, because they're like, damn it, his line has not changed over the years. This is who he is.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
And you know what? Damn it, he makes a great point in saying that. Yeah. I think that's the type of thing. That's why, like, a guy like Bernie Sanders can't have friends from both sides of the aisle, because they're like, well, we know who this dude is. He ain't changed. His tune ain't changed. It doesn't depend on who's trying to put money in his pocket or anything. Like, no, he is who he is. And that's sort of CM Punk. Like, in a way, because he is that guy who's willing to just be like, I'll walk away from this. I've got other things I can do. Right. And in a way, God bless for that. Like, hey, I can respect that. And he's put in the work and done enough and sacrificed enough for his own health and everything, that he's earned that. Good for him, man. Yeah.
And what's interesting is the common thread between what happened with Hangman Adam Page and what happened with Jack Perry is this concept. And, again, we're Uncle Todd and I are not plugged into any sort of insider wrestling stuff other than what we read on the internet. Yeah. But if you look at the accounts of what happened, the common thread between the two of them is you had two young guys who in some way kind of went into business for themselves on a live broadcast, unbeknownst to Punk, as a way of putting heat on themselves, as a way of maybe sticking it to him a little bit, because they both had an axe to grind with him, I believe. And like you said, he doesn't suffer fools lightly. He will confront, he will deal with, and he will address, and that's exactly what he did. And so within this outburst, so again, we don't have all the details of the outburst. No one really knows for certain exactly what happened. There's stories from both angles of it. Yeah, but essentially
there is an official lawyer-like statement from AEW and Tony Khan stating that there was a fear for life and a lunging, apparently. So that was the piece I didn't get to yet. Is apparently Tony Khan got involved, or didn't get involved, but somehow got in the middle of the scrum, and he felt he was being threatened. Well, yeah, and actually a little bit of context for this, because I actually had to kind of explain this. I had to explain some of this the actual location to my wife the other night. But the idea of gorilla position.
Oh, yes.
Because this is where this entire thing happens. So this is like when you come off of stage, when the wrestlers come off stage and they come through the curtain into the backstage area. The first area that you come to is gorilla position, which is so named for Gorilla Monsoon, the former WWF, commentator, and also just, persona. Yeah, I don't even know how you describe
persona
it.
Of greatness. I mean, Monsoon was one of the best talkers. He and Bobby Heenan, one of the best broadcast duos.
But one of the most respected people in WWF history. Had so many different roles, but that was like his spot. And apparently for live shows, that was where he was at. Like he would be at there, and that was the last person you saw going out, the first person you saw coming in. So it's known as gorilla position, even though this is like a completely different company, but it's that well known, and he was that well respected that even in another company where he had nothing to do with it, it's still gorilla position. And it's not a big area, at least if it's similar to what WWE does, where, I mean, it's kind of just a small area that you come off. There's some monitors there, and that's why CM Punk was there, because he's heading out next, so he's watching the previous match on a monitor to be ready to go out. And, it's a small area. So there's this whole idea of like, oh, well, this scrum happened and there's people here and people there, and everyone's, getting jostled about. And, Tony felt scared for his life because, there's people fighting in front of him, and, he ain't never been in any kind of a fight because he has butlers that do that.
Which, by the way, I watched the press conference after All In.
Yeah.
Just to watch like MJF and Adam Cole and a few of the other personalities. And I think at one point, Tony Khan even addressed that there was some sort of incident. When you see him talk about that, he does not seem like someone who was like shaken by that. Like it was just a matter of fact, like, yep, I can't comment on it. Something happened. He was just very matter of fact about it. And looking at his body language and everything does not strike me as someone who then on Saturday is talking about how he felt like his life was threatened. And which
and I think
I felt like was a little,
it's lawyer speak. They're trying to build a case because someone then got in his ear like, okay, CM Punk is going to sue you because of this and that and the other, and wrongful dismissal and blah 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 blah. So then they got into that. But I also think that there's a bit to that, because I've only seen minimal clips of Tony Khan, and he does strike me as a socially awkward person, and that's coming from another person who is kind of socially awkward. I know here on the interwebs, everyone's like, oh my gosh, he's so talkative, and God, he won't shut up. In regular social situations, around actual people, I clam up. But I could see some of that, and then again, I've just got a bit of a shaded perception of Tony Khan from how his company is run. But anyways, so I guess I would be saying take a grain of salt with that. Is my point.
So basically from that incident, there was some kind of, they did some internal investigation, and basically on Saturday, Tony Khan basically released a video where he read this. He was essentially reading a statement that was saying he was firing CM Punk for cause due to the issues of the endangerment of him and the staff, at All In, the incident as a whole, and he got recommendations from his legal staff as well as from this disciplinary committee, which of course in the comments of Twitter is hysterical, because like all of the memes are basically like Kenny Omega, Nick Jackson, and Hangman Page is the disciplinary committee.
No. I'm sure it's much more on the up and up. It's all of their cousins.
Well, and I need
perhaps
to add in too,
perhaps a brother or sister-in-law. I'm just guessing, but I'm pretty sure that's who the disciplinary committee is. Either that or it's Tony Khan and his 10 made-up friends.
And I need to add into the additional bit of information that came in after the incident, which is apparently when Punk arrived in London, he was supposed to have, there was supposed to be a car service that picked him up and would bring him to the hotel. Whatever number he was given, no one answered. He was trying to figure out transportation, where he was supposed to go. Ended up riding on the tube.
Because there was no Ubers available because
no Ubers available.
Again, this is a show that was held at Wembley Stadium. 80,000 people at Wembley Stadium. The biggest outside of the U.S. box office besides WWE in professional wrestling history, I believe. So yeah, London cabs busy.
Yeah. So eventually
we've got Punk riding the tube, which, God, I wish there was a camera crew following that.
I know. And then, getting help from fans to find his hotel, because if you ever been to, like we went to Denver last year, right?
Yep. And
it may seem like simple and basic and, hey, you got a phone, but it's like not easy sometimes when you're not familiar with, an area, to find where things are.
And you've got his gear, you've got his ring gear, you've got the fact that he's probably, and it sounds like he did a bit of traveling before that.
Yeah.
You got exhaustion and everything else. You've got all these other things on your mind, and now you've got to figure out where your hotel is. So blood pressure's got to be running pretty high.
There's probably already frustration from that incident, and then again from Uncle Corny's rant, we end up finding out that apparently the person who is in charge of, I guess, the transportation for the wrestlers and all these accommodations apparently is someone who's very close with Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Ladies and gentlemen, all together, surprise, surprise, surprise.
So, if you're listening to this and saying to yourself, my God, this sounds like a kindergarten, you wouldn't be that far off, to be perfectly honest.
Well, no, it's not like a kindergarten, because a kindergarten has a teacher. There's an authority figure somewhere. This is like Lord of the Flies, ladies and gentlemen. It's Lord of the Flies with men in their underwear. That's what this is.
So it's very unfortunate because, and we've talked about Punk in the past. Like I really feel like there was so much promise with him in AEW because of the fact that the company was at least, I don't know how to say it. It's like in their TV and in the way they deal with their talent, there was a freedom there that really, it didn't exist in WWE in the past. I don't know if WWE is loosening up a little bit, because there have been some really good feuds and some good promos and content that they've put out there, and I think some of it's letting the talent be themselves. Punk came in, he was putting over young guys, he was having really great stories. His matches, I really enjoyed his matches. There's complaints online, as there is about everything, that his match quality wasn't what it once was. Well, he's 44 years old, but I mean, going in there and fighting these younger guys and struggling to win, but yet pulling it off because of his, like his experience and stuff was a really compelling story to me. Like the guy who, he can't dominate, but he can still, through, his, through the skill he has and through his, experience and knowledge of the ring, finds ways to overcome was a really cool thing.
Which is a totally relatable to sports, because you have, God, there's so many examples, but the ones that come to me immediately are like late career Pedro Martinez, late career Kurt Schilling, late career Michael Jordan, actually mid to late career, because at the very late career Michael Jordan wasn't doing nothing, but like when he couldn't quite dominate physically and started developing some of those outside shots, and you're just like, okay, all of it, but it's so relatable across sports,
right?
It's like, how do you complain about that? That's how things work. Like, it's mirroring reality. What do you want? Again,
and that's what I think has always been his draw and his charm, is that people relate to him, they relate to his story, they relate to his struggle, they relate to him being a normal looking guy who's trying to fight giants and men much bigger than him, but doing it in, I've always appreciated his technical approach to wrestling and the action and the way he tells stories in the ring. So really had a lot of promise, but unfortunately, because of clashes of personalities. Now, I do want to say, you and I are pretty much coming across as in the bag for CM Punk. I will say that I have to concede to some degree that I don't necessarily agree with the way that he deals with conflict. Like there is an element where I understand you got to put your foot down and as you put it, you do not suffer fools lightly. However, there are ways to diffuse things. There are ways to handle things. And there is probably a way he could have done this in a different way if he really wanted to. But I think there's a lot of frustration that I'm assuming he was carrying, and that frustration was channeled maybe in not so productive a way. that maybe he could have navigated this a little differently. Not putting it on him though. There's a lot of, just as we talked about and as you've listened to and heard, kind of a lot of kindergarten-esque sort of activity going on that would probably drive someone who just wants to come in and do a quality show and do his, practice his craft and do it with excellence, would probably drive them insane. And so just a very unfortunate situation. Now there are rumblings that he may be, looking at WWE and going back there. I don't see how that's going to happen, but hey, stranger things have happened, folks, in the world of professional wrestling. So
yes, many things.
Eric Bischoff showing up on Raw. I mean, it's just like, good God Almighty. But sir, I'm sorry. I've been talking a lot, trying to set context. What's kind of your reaction to all this, and what was kind of your thought process as you were kind of hearing all this? Oh, here we go, baby.
Well, I think it's about time that we can.
We adjudicating.
We're adjudicating a wrestler's court, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about this. I think, first of all, let's just pause for a moment. Let's all just dig on the People's Court theme. Good God, listen to this.
I mean, this should have been like Shaft's theme music, you know what I mean?
Ain't it funkin' now?
I'm just talking about Shaft.
Listen to that dude. Going crazy on those congas.
That is amazing.
Oh, here we go.
Bring it down. One time. Oh, there it is.
I'm going to pop a hip out dancing this.
Good God. Uncle Todd's probably busting a move. All right. We should have had the cameras on for this while you were playing.
Quite honestly, I'm spent now.
Do you need to go to bed?
I need a nap. So first of all, I will retort on the there's better ways to deal with this. I think, but it goes back to Uncle Corny and the reason why we talk about Uncle Corny actually digging CM Punk. He's old school. He handles things a way that they used to be handled, and quite honestly, the issue here is that there is no authority figure for AEW.
Yeah.
And one of the points that they make in the episode that we'll link to on CM Punk's firing is the fact that at least in WWE, even though there's shenanigans and you might not like what Vince does and you might not like what this and that and the other, there's at least a structure. You know that at a certain point, if you do X, your ass is gone.
Yeah.
That there are consequences. In AEW, there's none. Why? Because the freaking inmates are running the asylum.
Yeah.
And so in that way, I don't blame CM Punk for being a dink in this. Like, I totally don't. Like, well, what are you going to do? Fire me? Fine. But, I'm not going to put up with this because obviously you had, like 2 years to handle this. Tony Khan, the dude who's writing the checks, the dude who's in charge of this whole thing, and you've done nothing except suspend these other guys and then put them right back at where they are because you have to, because they're all executive vice presidents.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If you're not going to do that, guess what? I'm going to goozle this sumbitch, and then, you know what? Let the cards fall where they may.
Breaking out to goozle.
I mean, I don't blame him in that whatsoever. Like, and this is the here's the problem. So if you have, we've seen this throughout history that, back in the territory days, you had guys like, Jerry Lawler, who obviously they ran the promotion. And of course they go figure, the guy who's running the promotion, running the territory, he's booked it at the top of the card. Wow. Shocker. But then you get into like WCW or even WWF back in the day when Hogan was, at the peak of his powers, and you have the wrestlers with the strong political pull.
Right.
It never ends well.
Yeah.
Never ends well. And look at what's happening with AEW. Like, it sounded great when it first started out. Like, and there's going to be so much creativity, and the wrestlers have this and they have that. And it's like, okay, I get that. But at a certain point, somebody needs to be the adult in the room. And when your livelihood is tied to where you are on the card and how many T-shirts you're selling, and it's variable on how much airtime you're getting, the fact that you have a say in who gets what airtime is probably not a good thing. Like, there needs to be a check and balance going on there. And there ain't no check and balance in AEW. Because Tony Khan just sits there and is like, it's great. And doesn't do anything.
I mean,
and yet these guys can kind of sit there at the top of this and just do whatever they want.
Yeah. I mean, it's
to me, it's the most cocked up situation you could possibly have.
It's super telling in that press scrum when Punk goes off. Which I know.
Oh yeah, and Khan is just sitting there like,
and he's just sitting there nodding his head, like in agreement with everything. And I mean, and in some ways, I mean, he's like, Punk's insulting his own like EVPs, and he's like, yeah, you're right. It's like, well, okay, Tony, then go do something about it.
And in a way, he's actually insulting Tony, sitting right next to him. And Tony is either too dumb, or he's too like stunned to know what's going on.
And I remember you and I were like laughing, like almost tears coming out of our eyes, laughing when there's a point after Punk is done like ranting where he just starts like eating, I don't know if it's like a sweet roll or a cinnamon roll or something.
It was a cupcake. It was a cupcake.
Whatever, a cupcake. And the look he's giving Tony as he's talking is just absolutely hysterical. Like, you just piss me off.
Oh yeah, he was just like, you're an idiot. You are an idiot. And you know what? I agree with Punk.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, because if you're not going to have any adult in the room, and you're going to, and your solution when you finally bring this guy back, who is your biggest star? I mean, no doubt about it, because he was gone, and then when they brought him back instantly, you know, I mean, he's the only guy who holds ratings for this company, because everyone else kind of figures, you know, you have the people who like what this is, and then you have people who keep on giving it a shot, and they're like, meh, no.
Yeah.
And Punk was the only person who's holding an audience. And yet your solution when you bring this guy back, instead of sitting him down in a room like adults, or like at least you're the adult and trying to deal with some, like, you know, a couple of children and a slightly older child, and saying, all right, enough of this crap.
Yeah.
You're going to get along because guess what? I'm the one writing the checks and we're all making money. So whoever can't get along here, let me know right now and I'll sign your release. And we're just done with this. I'm not going to deal with this. Did that happen? No, we give Punk his own show because we need to separate him out, because we might hurt some feelings over here with the elite. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What in the hell? Like, I'm not the hugest fan of Uncle Corny's like stick in the mud back in like the 70s and 80s, you know, mentality, but son of a mother, when are you going to actually stand up and go like, hey, guess what? I'm the one writing the checks. And this stops. Like, I thought, go ahead.
No, I was going to say just one other point from Uncle Corny, just to support what you're saying. One other point from Uncle Corny's show is it was reported that I think Punk has made, you know, not concessions. What's the word I'm looking for? He's made overtures.
Oh yeah. And then
to kind of make peace with them. And apparently there was something that was supposed to happen, you know, the weekend they were in London, where they would get together.
Hang on.
And kind of.
So, well, no, it wasn't going to happen in London. It was going to happen in Atlanta. But so his overtures of saying like, hey, I'm willing to talk. I'm willing to settle this.
Yeah. And
he didn't even get feedback from those dudes.
Yeah.
They're too chicken. He got feedback from AEW legal going, no, don't even contact them anymore.
Well, no, there was
fracking serious.
There was going to be a meeting before.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
prior to the pay-per-view, but then they backed out of it. But they backed out of it. And prior to that, they didn't want anything to do. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And it sounds like they actually backed out of it once he flew into town. Like, he flew into Atlanta specifically for this meeting, and apparently then they're like, oh, sorry, we can't do it.
Yeah.
Again,
immaturity. It's just immaturity.
Children, as CM Punk put it. He's working with children.
Yep.
And gosh, awful hard to argue. You know, I appreciated Uncle in the episode, you know, Uncle Corny's talking about, you know, how he would have dealt with the situation. And I like how he described it, because he doesn't beat around the bush and try and play any of that like, oh, well, I treat everyone the same. He's like, no, that's my headliner. You Jungle, you know, Jim Perry, you know, whatever your frat name is.
Corny loves Jack Perry. I just want to say that right now. Corny just loves Jack Perry.
You're a mid-carder at best. You're going to F around with my headliner? Guess what? I'll fire you. I don't care. That's my money man. And then, he still holds Punk accountable to some degree, but at the same time, it's like, you don't F with the dude at the top of the pyramid. That's not the way it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so ridiculous. I mean, I can't, in the modern wrestling sense, and also in just the way that you would teach your children to deal with things and things like that. Yeah, he probably should have found a better way to deal with it. But at the same time, there are times that just if there's no adults in the room, sometimes you got to be the adult in the room, or you've just got to be like, you know what, I will not tolerate this anymore. And if no one else is going to stop this, I will put a stop to it. And guess what? I trained and I fought in MMA, so I know exactly how to stop this. You want to get goozled? You want a front face lock? You want me to pop your shoulder out of your, do you want to tap or do you want to nap? I mean, it's up to you. Snap, tap, or nap. It's your, because I'm guessing that, Jungle Jim isn't as well versed in those things. But yeah, I have a hard time finding a case for AEW or Tony Khan. I would rule completely for CM Punk in this one.
I would as well. I think unfortunately, this younger generation, and not to sound like the curmudgeon old guy, but it just seems like
please do. I love that.
There's just a lack of maturity there, a lack of professionalism.
Especially in AEW, because there's nobody to hold them and there's no accountability whatsoever.
Right. So yeah, I think it's an unfortunate situation. I think there could have been some really amazing business they could have done with Punk, had certain personalities, kept themselves in line. And like I said, to some degree, maybe there are things that he could have done differently as well. I mean, we can't treat him like an angel. I'm sure he's a strong personality, and like you said, in the absence of real leadership, those strong personalities can sometimes also go out of control. And so, but to your point, I'm on the side of CM Punk in this. I feel like he was not, unfortunately, afforded the opportunity that he could have had, and I think they left a lot of money on the table because of it, which is what Cornette kind of hits on, and I meant to jump in and say this when you brought up when he articulated how he would have handled this as a promoter. He did a really, I mean, as profane as he can be, and as wordy as he can be with some of this stuff, I really appreciated the way he approached the situation, because he did it in a way that made a lot of sense from a business logic standpoint, where like any other entertainment industry, it's a harsh business where there are certain people who are simply draws, and you have to go with them because they're the ones that are pulling in the money. And he's really trying to, navigate that and just say, this is how I would have dealt with this. As harsh as it would be for someone like Jack Perry, he's got to accept his place. He's not the one. I mean, for crying out loud, he was on not even a curtain jerking match. It was like the pre-show match,
Yeah.
And so, fans are paying and excited to see Punk and Joe because they have a long history and all this sort of thing. And so I just, I think he did a great job articulating that and really kind of presenting, the harshness of the business, while also saying, here's why the harshness though makes sense in some ways, And so, yeah, I feel Punk was given a raw deal. I think now, as of right now, Jack Perry is still suspended indefinitely, so it's not like he's getting off easy. He's not competing and not on the shows right now, but nonetheless, it just feels like a strange thing for Punk to have to pay the price that way. But as Uncle Corny and his co-host discussed, maybe this is for the better. AEW is free of Punk and Punk is free of AEW, and maybe that's just the best thing for everyone. So,
well, I think it's definitely better for Punk. I think it's a terrible thing for AEW because they could have drawn money off this.
Yeah, business wise, 100%. I mean, he was a proven draw for them. Their Collisions ratings were up. He was doing great business with them, and he even said it in the press, scrum when he was going off about Hangman Adam Page. He's just like, what some of the, I think the way you put it, like these idiots in the back, it's like it's like they don't want to take advice, and they don't want to, it's like they don't understand like how this business works, and so it's an unfortunate situation. And but I'm interested to see it's what's also telling too is real quick, just to wrap this up, is the fact that Khan put out his statement. We've heard nothing from Punk.
Oh yeah,
there's been nothing yet from Punk. Not to say there won't be, but I find the silence interesting because I don't know if it's the calm before the storm, or if he's working. Maybe he's being smart about this, being quiet. Maybe he's trying to work a deal out with WWE where he can come in and do some damage in a different way, further damage to AEW. So it'll be very interesting, kind of where this goes. And if he somehow works out, coming back to WWE in a limited, kind of featured capacity, I think that would still be a great thing, because he's such a great wrestler. And I really, like I said, I really enjoy the matches he's in. He and Samoa Joe put on an amazing match at All In, and so at least he has he's at least riding off to this in the sun's, what's the way you put it, riding sunset. Off to the sun in the sunset, toward the sunset. I don't know. I can't put two words together right now. But at least he finished. Thank you. At least he finished his time with a match in front of 80,000 and with a victory. So.
All right, so we've mentioned the possibility of Punk going to WWE, and I think it's interesting because I don't know that anyone knows his contract details. I mean, it's very well known that WWE has a no compete, that it's normally mentioned whether they waive it or how long it is and all that stuff. AEW, I mean, where everything, again, because Tony Khan seems like an idiot, I don't know if they would even put a no compete in, because they're supposedly so wrestler friendly. And yes, I've got my quotey fingers up for that. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think there's definitely some, Phil knows whether to, keep quiet, and maybe he's consulting with some legal folks and what he can do. I want to run this by you. Because you mentioned the idea of him going to WWE, and that's been bandied about, of course, because, I mean, why not? Right now, I mean, quite honestly, he is the hottest property, free agent, certainly, but one of the hottest properties you could possibly get in terms of like what could draw money.
Yes.
Just because he's already an established name, and now you have this. It's kind of polarizing. I want to run this by you because I actually think there's another way to get CM Punk into WWE, not as a feature, not as like limited. Here's my idea.
Okay.
So you have whenever, because we know WWE is going to run Chicago at some point, which was the other funny thing about the fact that Collision was in Chicago.
Oh,
and Uncle Corny saying that they were booing Tony Khan out the building like the hunter who shot Bambi's mother. The man is a poet, ladies and gentlemen. But we know that WWE is going to run Chicago at some point. For either Raw or SmackDown. I think it would be very interesting because we know that if they do start working a deal with CM Punk, or if there's any rumor of him going to WWE, it's going to be in the dirt sheets. It's going to be online. People are going to know. There's no way to keep this thing secret. So what if you try and keep it secret, but of course it isn't. It's that secret that everybody knows. The show opens and we get Triple H as Paul Levesque, however you pronounce it. I've heard it pronounced like 18 different ways. You get Triple H go down to the ring, no music, no nothing. He's not the game. He's not Triple H. He is WWE executive. And he comes out to essentially say, I'm here to do rumor control. And I know there's a lot of rumors out there that CM Punk is going to be here and that this and that and the other, I'm here to dissuade all that. And then all of a sudden, Cult of Personality hits. And we see CM Punk on the stage. And Triple H is playing this as startled, but actually genuinely confused. Like, how is this guy here?
Yeah.
And you then go way outside, because we all know that's the thing. Like, oh my gosh, the person showed up. But of course, their music and video was queued up. We go into like, how would that happen? And he's like, Phil or Punk, or however he wants to dress him, like, you're not supposed to be here. And then you actually give an explanation for that. And Punk even saying something like, hey, you really ought to pay your sound guy more because $200 is all it takes to get a video and a microphone around here.
Nice.
And you basically have Punk shilling for why he wants to be back in WWE. And Triple H saying, listen, we're not interested in having you. We're not interested in someone who's run down our company and who's been fired from another company. And you manage to work this out where he's not part of the thing. And then over the next month or 2 months even, you have Punk showing up at different events.
Yeah.
And he does the whole thing where, like, you know, some of these people have done it before where they just show up and they just beat the hell out of everybody and then they leave.
Yeah.
Except now you even do this at house shows. Like, you actually get video from house shows. And of course you do it like sort of like, oh my gosh, this is a cell phone camera from a fan of CM Punk showing up at a house show and beating the hell out of people, laying to waste. And then you're like, hey, I'm going to keep doing this until I get a contract because I'm not going out like this. Because I'm done playing with children. I want to be back with the big boys.
Yeah.
So you play this out over the course of a month or a couple months. Then you come back. Triple H comes to the ring, top of a Raw or SmackDown. Take your pick. And comes out and says, all right, Phil, I know you're here. Let's talk. Of course, CM Punk shows up and comes out of the crowd, or even have the video and all that. So you have that intro. Comes down. He's like, you know what? This has gone far enough. I've never been a big fan of yours, but you know what? You've made your point. I'm ready to offer you a contract. Pulls out of the course of the suit pocket, hands him the contract. Punk looks it over. This is an NXT contract. And Triple H says, yep, you're right. Because you abandoned this company. You ran this company down. You've been fired from somewhere else. You need to prove yourself. So do you want to play with the big boys or not? Because there's nowhere else that you're going to go.
Yeah.
Next week, CM Punk is on NXT. And over the course of, you don't do this like 2-3 weeks, and then all of a sudden he's called to main roster. You do this over several months. Of him working his way in, and he doesn't take a loss, of course, but he's going to have some close calls, and he's going to give a little bit of a rub to the younger guys, and you put him with the best wrestlers that you have, like wrestlers.
Yes.
And he works his way up, gets the main roster, and you continue this story. And eventually, hopefully, you have CM Punk competing for the WWE Championship with whatever the thing is, that the belt is that Rollins has now. And you have Cody Rhodes going for the Unified Undisputed Championship. Now, can you imagine if you wind up with CM Punk and Cody Rhodes as your two champions?
Yes.
And then you either have a blow off with those two or something, or whatever. You have to establish whether Punk is going to ride off into the sunset or how long term this is. But that's a satisfying final chapter to this career that he. And of course, you have to then assure him that, like, hey, we're not going to dink you over like we have in the past.
Well, right.
But I mean, that's kind of interesting to me, because then it becomes like it's about wrestling.
Yes.
And you have Triple H lean into that. And you even have him I would love to see, this is one thing that gave me chills thinking about it, is like, again, having it as Paul Levesque, like the executive, but then all of a sudden starting to slip back into the game. And almost coming to that, like, you think that you're bigger than this, you think you're that, you think you think that you're bigger than the game, and almost going back into that. He's like, but the game, but you know what? This business went on without the game.
Yeah.
And just kind of pull back from that. And those, like, not being the evil Mr. McMahon character, like 2.0, but just being the guy who's like, hey, this is the truth. This is who you are. This is what you did. And if you want to get back, you want to wrestle, you got to do it old school. You got to fight your way up.
Right.
Dude, that'd be fracking awesome.
Look at you, fantasy booking.
It's never going to happen.
I know.
It's never going to happen. But you know what? Jim Cornette would love that. Somebody send that clip to Uncle Corny. He'd be, some bitch, I love that.
Yep. Free range idiocy, Uncle Todd, fantasy booking.
French fry that and put it in a bucket, son. I'll eat it.
That's right. That's
something like that, I'm guessing. I don't know.
All right. Well,
who knows? Maybe.
I think it's a great idea. I like it. It is a story that is compelling. I think.
Would it draw money though?
I think it would. I like the
that.
idea of him, fighting his way up, giving some young guys the rub as he does it. Eventually kind of,
when they have enough guys, like
landing to an achievement of a world title, I think that would be.
Think about CM Punk
cool.
versus Shinsuke.
I know.
Come on.
I know. CM Punk versus Kevin Owens.
Oh, yeah. So many. Yeah. No, totally.
There's a lot of very intriguing possibilities with him. And so, yeah,
CM Punk versus Gunther.
Oh, God.
The Ring General.
The Ring. No. It's the Ring General.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going French instead of German. Sorry. I get so confused.
Marcel Barthol is, or no, he's called what now? Ludwig. That's what he was called. It was like it's funny. There's like pre-pandemic Imperium, and then there's like post-pandemic Imperium.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's Ludwig Kaiser now. And
yes,
my God, is he one of the best hype men? Like, just the way he does the announcement, and
he's a scrawny little dude too,
how
right?
Committed he is to the shtick is incredible. So.
Well, I mean, that's his bread and butter. He knows that after that, it's like, I don't make this work. I am toast.
Indeed. Well, we're at the 50-minute mark with the Week in Geek segment. So should we play the People's Court music again to call this segment to a close? And I think it's safe to say we have adjudicated in favor of CM Punk.
Yes.
He is the wrong party. AEW should just walk away. So.
This
WWE
music,
should bring him in. There's some compelling stories to be told, and Uncle Todd, he is a writer. So
this ought to be like Triple H's music when he comes down to the ring for the. Come on now, Lord. I'd like to introduce my new executive vice president, Charles Wright, the Godfather.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, dude, that dude's going off on the Kungas. Come on.
No, I could whoop your ass.
Oh, yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is a funky-delicious and adjudicated version of the Week in Geek.
Good God, now.
Uncle Todd's to blow a hip out here.
Oh, so good. I did not expect the People's Court theme to go that hard. It'd been a long time since I listened to that. And as I was listening to pre-show, I was like, wow, that's good.
Our love of these these funkalicious themes from shows such as People's Court and Chips is
dude, Barney Miller.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. We should get some Barney Miller in here.
Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah.
I mean, Sanford and Son.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Good Lord.
That's it.
I think so. I think
so good. All right. Anyways, we should get to the main topic, which
the main events.
Which was not the main event of WrestleMania 13.
It was not. It was not. But we're going to do a WrestleMania 13 rewatch. You may ask yourself, why, Uncle Todd and Man They Call Tim, are we going to WrestleMania 13, and why Austin versus Hart? Well, I will answer the question thusly. The context behind this is quite interesting because this feud was built in a very organic and systematic way. It's going all the way back to August of '96, when basically Steve Austin. Going back to 96, like WrestleMania 12, Hart versus Michaels in the Iron Man match. Hart loses that match. Michaels starts his world title run. Hart goes away for a while. And in August, Steve Austin, out of the blue, who is starting to become this, he's starting to gain some steam as a heel, as a personality. And he starts calling out Bret Hart. And doing so in a way that is edgy, disrespectful, but compelling in that you want to see Bret Hart come in and whoop on him. Mm-hmm. And so we start this feud, and we get a few matches. that that really kind of launched this in the direction of this match in WrestleMania 13. Before I get into the matches, real quick, I have been a fan of Steve Austin going all the way back to like 93, 94. When I was at college, I had TBS for the first time, because I don't think we really had TBS where we lived. I don't remember ever watching TBS. But I got to watch WCW Saturday Night. And Steve Austin at the time was tagging with Brian Pillman as the Hollywood Blondes. He was a character even then. Like, there was something about him that both on the mic and in the ring, he was just a compelling act, that you just, enjoyed watching. And so it was very fun to see his evolution coming into WWE as the ringmaster, turning into Steve Austin, turning into Stone Cold Steve Austin. And so when he gets into this feud, Austin and Hart first face off at the 1996 Survivor Series, with Hart winning basically with a pinfall kind of out of nowhere. It was a highly contested match, but Bret Hart pulls it out, kind of like we talked about with Punk, kind of as the veteran who pulls out, just some maneuvers that allows him to, get the pin out of nowhere. So Austin loses that match. Then we get to Royal Rumble 97, which is, highlighted by Austin sitting on the turnbuckle after clearing the ring and kind of looking at his wrist when he's wearing no watch.
That was great.
Which was hysterical. But in this Royal Rumble, Austin actually gets eliminated, but the referees don't see it and they don't call it. And so he climbs back into the ring and continues to compete because no one has officially eliminated him. So the match keeps going. Hart's in the ring as well, throws some guys out. It's down to Austin and Hart. Hart thinks he's won, doesn't realize Austin is still in this. And then Austin kind of sneaks in and throws Hart over the top rope, wins the match. So Austin is slowly now becoming this thorn in Bret Hart's side. And then we get to In Your House 13 Final Four, which is in February of 97. Austin versus Vader versus Undertaker versus, this is a pretty compelling main event match for the WWE title when you have Steve Austin, Vader, Undertaker, and Bret Hart. Like, those are some significant names from the 90s.
If only they'd taken Vader a little more seriously.
Yeah.
It would have been, it could have been like really good.
Absolutely. Well, Hart ends up winning that match. He becomes the WWE champion. The next night on Raw, Hart then defends the championship against Psycho Sid, or Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, as some may know him as, for the WWE title. Austin costs Hart the title in that match. So again, Austin is like this constant, like, just point of annoyance for Bret the Hitman Hart. He is just always there. He's harassing him in promos. He's interfering in his matches. Finally leads to WrestleMania 13. And then just before that Raw, or the Raw before WrestleMania 13, Hart fights Sid in a cage match. And Austin actually tries to help Hart win the match so that he's the champion when he goes to fight him at WrestleMania 13, which is absolutely genius. I mean, what a way to play that. Well, anyways, he ends up costing Hart the match. Hart loses and snaps, and this is where he cuts a very profane and edgy promo that you just never thought you'd hear from this vanilla babyface who has always been this good guy, Bret Hart. Where he feels he's getting screwed over by the company. Nothing, McMahon's not doing anything about Austin. It kind of starts this whole revelation of McMahon being, the boss, without really calling him that. But it all leads into this match. And this match is not a regular match. It is a submission match, which means you have to get your opponent to quit or essentially submit. And of course, this plays into Bret Hart being a submission specialist and Austin being more of a brawler. So that's a little context. Any comments on that, sir, before we move on?
Only that this was at a time when I was not watching wrestling, so I've caught up on this somewhat piecemeal in a kind of a backwards fashion through history, but I did not really keep up with this as it was going along. When I first started watching wrestling with you, starting to watch it again after like the 80s, Austin was already like the biggest thing in the world. So this is all kind of new territory to me, but I kind of peripherally knew about this as like backstory.
Yeah. And the A&E show WWE Rivals does a fantastic job of highlighting what I just talked about, because they really put a focus on how antagonistic Austin was, and the way, we talked about this match being a double turn, but one of the reasons why it was a double turn is because it's one of these cases of the antagonist has pushed the protagonist so far that they feel they have no other choice but to basically go to the antagonist level and do so in their mind justifiably, because they have been persecuted for so long. But the problem is when Bret Hart starts doing some of those things, it's the antithesis of what a good guy typically does. And so the fans turn on them. And it's really a remarkable thing that they do, because you end up having Austin, who's like the anti-hero, ends up coming out of 13. As we go through the match, Austin ends up losing the match. But he doesn't quit. He basically passes out. And so he comes out of this match. It's one of those cases where losing, you actually win, because now you've earned respect in the eyes of the fans. You come off as tough. You come off as someone who doesn't quit. And now the fans are kind of behind you. Whereas Bret Hart, during this match, as we'll talk about, he goes to some pretty, heelish lengths to get the victory. And then he does a beatdown afterwards. So the man is passed out, and then he continues to beat the passed out man down. So it's like the crowd is like, what the heck are you doing? And so it's just, it's this really interesting dynamic that you hadn't really seen on WWE TV. And
because Hart had been a good guy ever since the Hart Foundation turned face after Jimmy Hart wasn't their manager anymore.
87, 88 is around when the Hart Foundation went good, and he was
like
a good guy.
Decade of being a babyface.
Yeah, basically.
And like white meat, like there's like there's no hint of dark side here.
No. So this was a really, really interesting dynamic that happened that elevated Steve Austin, which was what Bret Hart was trying to do, as we find out in other kind of background stories like Broken Skull Sessions and like Rivals. Like that was his intent. It was he saw Steve Austin as this rising star, and what a great way to continue to elevate him by and Bret doesn't lose anything in all this. He ends up winning all of their matches basically. Like Austin doesn't win this feud, but what ends up happening is he wins in the eyes of the fans, and he ends up getting them on board with him. And basically the following year is when he becomes world champion, and we have the birth of the Stone Cold Steve Austin era in WWE. So I mean, not all feuds have this sort of build to them. And this was what was so interesting, was how organic this was. A lot of credit to Hart and a lot of credit to Austin. And as we watch this match, and I'm going to comment on this, Austin is such a great performer, because and he talks about this in Broken Skull Sessions, is the focus he has on the little things he does in a match to really, enunciate and exemplify what his opponent is doing to him and what he's doing to his opponent, is I think what makes him such a draw and such an entertaining performer.
Indeed.
So, any other comments before we go to the actual viewing, sir?
No, except that this will be my first time watching this match. I've never watched this match. I've seen highlights. I've seen tidbits of it. I've never seen the match in its entirety. So I'm actually pretty excited about this.
I'm excited to hear your reaction to some things.
All right. So we have this queued up on the Peacock.
Yes.
And our timestamp is 1 hour, 21 minutes and 07 seconds.
Yes.
So if you can find your way to get there with Peacock's absolutely crap-tastic interface.
Yes. Commercials abounding.
The funny part is, like, their online, I found that their online interface is much better than if you're watching it on like an Apple TV or you're watching on your smart TV. Like, trying to fast forward, like, it gives you no indication of where you're at. Like, it doesn't give you the little preview where you're scrubbing forward. Nothing. It's like, just take a guess.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
The only thing that's worse, actually, and just a quick side note, the new Max app which if you decide you don't want to watch the next episode of something, you essentially have to exit out of the app and then go back into it, because once it locks into that like next episode up in 12 seconds, it doesn't matter. You try and menu out of that, it goes, nope, you're going to watch the next episode.
Not having it.
No, that's not what I want to do. But anyways, so yeah, 1:21:07 is our timestamp for this.
All right.
You want to count us in, sir? This is your deal.
All right. Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. WrestleMania 13, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret the Hitman Hart in a submission match. 3. Oh, and before I forget, Ken Shamrock, special guest referee of USC fame. He had not entered WWE as a competitor yet, but this is his first appearance in a WWE program as a special guest referee, which will come into play later on. All right. Nice. With all that being said, 3, 2, 1, here we go.
Oh, and we've got the WrestleMania song.
I mean, this is like overly cheesy, happy music. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Da, 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 WrestleMania.
Good old, oh my gosh, could they have found a smaller shirt for him? That's like
Shamrock.
a child. That's
Shamrock
like a child's
jacked.
medium.
Shamrock was jacked. Good Lord.
You know he was doing.
He does the pose, and then he's just kind of like, I'm going to sit in the corner now.
That dude was doing curls and push-ups in the gorilla to get pumped to come out for this.
That is hysterical.
So who do we got? We got JR and Vince on commentary for this, I
JR,
believe?
Vince, and Jerry the King Lawler.
Ah.
Now, this is kind of cool. Most entrances are pretty vanilla. I love it. I love the jaw jacking Austin does.
Yeah.
But watch what happens here, because this doesn't seem like much, but this was kind of big for an entrance. I love the shattered glass.
Yeah.
And now watch what Austin does. I love how he just jaw jacks at nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, he's great. And that was always his thing. Like, no matter if he was a good guy or a bad guy, he came through that curtain and he was just talking.
He was pissing and moaning about something. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. It's like he couldn't find a good parking spot, or they didn't have his favorite soap in the shower.
But that's
what
I talk about with him, with the little things. Like, it's such a little detail, but it's like it's so eye catching, and it makes you want to watch him. You know, it's
I mean, granted, he's getting booze here, but did you see the sheer number of Austin 316? Like, signs just in that shot. Come on.
Yeah, that's another point of context. Is this is after King of the Ring, so he's already had the Austin the transformation to Stone Cold has happened. So there is a Austin 316 move. I love this. Goes into Shamrock's face and is doing the slapping motion with his hand.
Yeah. Is there a better intro theme than the original Austin music? So. You hear that shattering glass, it's like, oh, it's on.
Oh my gosh. He is phenomenal.
Oh, the fake.
Right. Here comes the vanilla baby face. Bret the Hitman Hart. And I love the fact too, they even call out in commentary. It's like, hey, watch out for the glass.
Granted, I mean, Bret's theme song is not bad.
No, it was very cool for the time. It was very cool for the time.
Howard Finkel, man. Oh,
the Fink. There's only one of a kind. Yeah, step over that broken glass. Jack Perry, he's got some things to say about that.
Oh, God, you got to bring it back to Jungle Jim, huh?
Oh, my gosh. Now, one detail that I like about this is watch what Bret does. So he takes his jacket off, and his gimmick at the time was always giving his glasses to a fan. But watch the look on his face when he does it. Like, it's nothing against the fan, right? But he doesn't look happy. You know what I mean? Like there's no joy in that face at all. He is business. Now watch what Austin does here. Here comes Bret, looks to the side. Now he goes.
That's great. That is so great.
Oh,
and that's like knowing where the camera is and everything. Like just that little look to the side.
Yep. Now, Uncle Todd, I have to warn you, this is going to move at a quite brisk pace compared to Roman Reigns and Jey Uso.
Good God, anything. The glacier is moving across the plains of Canada moves faster than those matches. Look at this. Look at this.
This is an intense brawl, man. I mean,
action, like things happening.
Holy crap! They start out just wailing on each other.
Austin's kicks are always the best. Like he doesn't just kick; he always like gets him. Like look there, he always has to support himself. You know.
Oh, phenomenal! Phenomenal
headlock. Oh,
boom into the ring post, baby. Good Lord.
And you got to admit, like Shamrock is committing here. Like he's getting in position. He's moving around.
He is.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Granted, he's on his third cycle of steroids that week, but still, you know.
Oh, I think Austin goozled him.
Oh, that's a nutter butter shot. Clothesline off of the crotched opponent on the barricade. What is that dude in the flannel? Come on.
Hey, there's Lou Albano, baby.
Is that Lou Albano?
Yeah,
I was going to say that's like
Atlas.
discount Lou Albano, but no, it's the real Lou Albano.
Oof.
Look at Shamrock. Like he is taking this so seriously.
Yeah.
It's great.
It is fantastic. All right.
No one told him that this was actually predetermined.
We are working up to one of my favorite spots in all of wrestling. Here it is.
Oh yeah.
Here it is. There it is. Drinks the Coke, throws it down on Hart. I love it.
And that guy is over
what a
there.
heel should do.
That guy's over there with a cameraman like, hey, I need 250. Like, I'm going to be short. I'm going to get fired over this.
I mean, for the time, it was pretty incredible.
Look at these fans. Like, this is mayhem. Like, there's no security, no nothing.
Austin's looking for another Coke.
Yep. Maybe a hot dog, perhaps.
Maybe. I mean, ECW, this was kind of a staple of ECW, but going into the crowd like this, like WWE did not do this a lot.
And you can tell because like now when they do these shots, like it is so well clear. There's no fans around. Like, and I imagine part of that is liability.
Yep.
But I mean, it does lose a bit of like the charm of it being like, oh my gosh.
Look at someone, the guy just rubbed Bret Hart's hair. What the heck? Good
Look at him,
Lord.
There he is in his members only jacket, all excited.
How do you as a wrestler not react to that? I mean, Bret Hart showing some real like composure there, not like reacting to the guy rubbing his head. Jeez, I'm crow.
When right now you can barely even tell what's going on.
Stone Cold's going for a pile driver.
Look at Wolfman Jack there in his striped.
There he goes.
I can't even tell what the hell happened. What just happened there? I'm looking at Wolfman Jack there in his gray and white T-shirt there.
Yeah, no kidding. You know, it's funny. Shamrock is both referee and like crowd control. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who's going to mess with Shamrock in his spandex bike shorts?
It's probably telling Bret and Austin, like, get back, just get into the ring area for crying out loud.
I've already had 5 people grab my ass. Can we get back in the ring, please? Dear God.
We've already had one Coke go down in infamy, so here we go.
Look at him. He's leading them back, like, follow me.
Lead you to freedom. He's like, good God, we're back out of here.
Ken Shamrock is Spartacus. I
love this. Hart doing the turnbuckle leap onto him from like on the outside railing. That you never saw that. Not a lot.
Like and Hart with like, the little things on his, just like even the ring gear, like the spats on his boots. Like no one else did that.
Yeah.
It's something very unique about that,
They didn't do a lot of these like step spots the way that they do now. And like Hart committed to that. I mean, you see how far those steps move. I mean, he went with some velocity on that. Good.
I mean, that's sort of like whenever Mick Foley would like get suplexed or something, and he would clip it. Oh, there's the double birds.
There's a double. Boom! There it is. Austin off the ring,
and he would
taking Hart out
the stairs, and it's always that thing where you're like, that is just full commitment. Like this is going to suck, but it's going to look great on tape.
I love this. Watch this.
Oh!
I am surprised. Okay, I am surprised Austin did not blow out his ACL. Did you? Because if you see how his leg bends when he falls down, that's
how he got his second knee brace right there.
Probably. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
That was insane. So Austin lifted the steel stairs above his head, and then Bret Hart like kicks him, but when he falls over, his right leg just folds. It's like,
I mean, you do know that people are supposed to be watching this with us.
I'm trying to give them a little color as in case they're not. Maybe they're just
Tim
listening
thinks that
in
this
their
is
car.
over the radio.
Well,
and now,
it could
let me tell you, coming from the live from the.
Maybe Jimmy Dice is listening as he takes one of his trips for work or something, you know?
Yeah, sure. He's going to Norway and he's listening to this to a match he can't watch. Wow. What sort of entertainment? What sort of lack of entertainment do you have on a plane to be doing that? All right. Anyways, what was that?
Neckbreaker by Bret the Hitman Hart. I'm going to call this one.
Jeez, oh my gosh. Does that mean I have to do the Jerry Lawler puppies?
Oh, good God. Please don't. Gosh, Bret was so crisp.
Look at Shamrock had like 5 cups of coffee and a 5-hour energy before this match. He's moving like crazy.
Well, he is, but what's I did watch this earlier during my
that
lunch
was
break.
okay. Now that right there, that move where he grabs the leg and then he goes over like that.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen anyone except Hart do that.
Yeah,
like,
that was fair. Yeah. Yeah, I mean him, Flair, guys like who would typically work on legs.
Yeah,
as part of their move repertoire. Not a lot of them, and especially these days where it's all fast paced like action, like it's just not done anymore.
No. Well, and actually something I wanted to mention earlier, the whole in the CM Punk Samoa Joe match. Did you apparently CM Punk did the spinning toe hold?
Oh yeah, yep.
As a little homage to Terry Funk. That was beautiful.
Spinning toe hold, and then they did a whole sequence where he did the Hogan leg drop, and then Samoa Joe started hulking up after that, which was kind of homage to him, which was funny.
And I love how they worked in a couple of Samoa Joe nopes. Like just walks away like that. Oh, it's such a great thing. Anyways, so Hart's still working on the legs.
Underappreciated, by the way.
Totally.
I think WWE screwed the pooch when they got rid of him, which was stupid.
Yeah.
But
that one did hit home.
Now, one thing I was going to say about Shamrock, as much as like you're saying how active he is and stuff, but at the same time, how he's not. He's not making himself the focal point of the match, though. Like he's playing the ref's role very, he's almost like not there, which is a sign of doing a good job,
Yeah, it to me, I guess it's just shocking because we're so used to so many guest referees absolutely sucking at the job.
Yeah.
That he's actually doing a fairly good job. Like he's kind of almost. I mean, the thing that sets him apart is the fact that, he's got like the frickin', the shirt and the bicycle shorts that are both 5 sizes too small.
Yeah.
It's amazing he has any circulation left, but
Austin selling this
it
leg.
Seems like it could be like Kyoto or Hebner or anyone. Oh yeah. This spot.
Flair never did it,
cool.
But Bret Hart did the figure 4 on the ring post. Oh,
yeah.
Good Lord. And I was going to comment too. Austin selling his leg. Look at this.
Yep.
If this was now, the match would be over because that was a tap out.
Yeah.
But they hadn't moved to the tap out approach yet. It was all verbal, I think.
Yeah.
But my God, the way Austin sells his leg though is just phenomenal.
Oh yeah, it totally. It's one of those deals where it's like it's not always just the move that the guy's doing. It's how your opponent sells it.
Yep.
And Austin is making Hart look like $1 million, and of course, Hart's making Austin look good because that's what he does.
And what a great pacing to the match! You start off with this wild, raucous brawl, and now it's like slowed down into this like methodical dissection of the leg. And now here we get into Hart's like heelish I love this. Hart picks up the padded chair. No, I don't want no pads. I want pure metal, baby. Pure metal on that chair.
Well, and the thing is, like, even though it's slowed down now, it is still like not
lightning speed compared to Roman Reigns and Jey Uso.
Well, I wasn't going to go there, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of like, it's still interesting.
Yes.
Like it's not.
Yes.
It doesn't get to a boring point. Like, okay, now they need to rest because I'm so used to high spot.
Yeah.
It like it's tension. It's drama. It's telling that story.
Yeah. Now this is interesting because he was going to, potentially use that to. I love
and so the best part about
the swing, the off balance swing, is that not his like look at him, the way he sells it.
Yeah, but the best part of that is like when Hart was getting up on the top turnbuckle, he was paying attention to where his feet were, so he did not legitimately in character see where Austin was.
Yes.
Because there's so many times that stuff happens now where it's like the guy is looking directly at the guy who's about to swing on him. It's like, why wouldn't you move?
Yeah.
You're making eye contact with him,
Yeah.
It's again, it's those little things where Hart's obviously thinking like, well, what would happen? I would see him.
Right.
I've got to be looking down.
Bret Hart into the turnbuckle. My God, that guy knew how to throw himself with velocity and make it look
nice.
painful.
Crisp suplex by Austin. Oh,
yeah.
Oh no, yeah. Hart always sold that so well.
But those Austin chair shots were just ridiculous. And again, it's the detail that he puts into like how animated he is when he does it. It's so good. Nice elbow off the top from Austin.
Yep. And still selling the leg a little bit better now, but
I mean, just a nice back and forth to this match.
Oh.
Is he going for the sharpshooter? No, he goes for the old kick him in the gut.
The meat and two veg.
Hiding his eyes. I love it. Oh. Thank you, Jim. This is not for the weak at heart.
Russian leg sweep. There we go.
There it is.
Oh, what the heck
he's
is
going
this?
For like this. I think this is a form of like an octopus hold.
How much do you want to bet that like Bret was working with him on this earlier?
Yeah, basically.
Let me show you a couple holds, eh?
Well, and this was part of the story going into this. Like this match favors Bret because Austin was not known as a submission specialist. He was known as a brawler. So it's like his ability to win this match is solely based on him beating good old Stu. Oh, Boston Crab. Here we go. Austin going for the Boston Crab. Another submission hold. There it is. Yeah, Austin gets in a couple of submission holds here.
I mean, and I don't know. It doesn't. I mean, honestly. So what? I mean, it looks pretty good. I mean, Austin's selling it like $1 million, But obviously, we know this isn't the end.
Yeah. Jerry,
I'm a lip reader.
I'm a lip reader. He's saying I quit. Now again, this is all based on the submission, not on them saying I quit. So they didn't dream up the gimmick yet that they did with Rock and Mick Foley, where it's like, they record him saying I quit and then play it over the loudspeaker. Oh my God. But man, the viciousness of these two. I mean, again, organic feud. Oh, here we go. Austin's teasing the sharpshooter, baby.
Look at the smile on Austin's face.
Look at the smugness in the way he does. Oh, there we go. A little eye rake. There we go. Bret with the eye rake. And not letting him do the sharpshooter.
Again, like a low-level heel move, but we're starting to see we're starting to see all those, like you were saying, the heelish tendencies coming out.
What do you think so far? This is your first time watching this.
Dude, this is a fracking great match. I wish we saw more stuff like this in pay-per-views now. Like, well, and actually, in another thing, there kind of was one like this, but yeah, this is great pacing. Some great moves also mixed in with brawling. It's the 3-ring circus approach. There's a little something for everybody. But it's not just over the entire card. It's kind of in this match. Like they're giving you a little bit of technical wrestling, a little submission. They're giving you some brawls. Yeah, and some comedy, like hitting him with a Coke. I mean, come on, you got to chuckle too.
Got to hit him with the Coke.
What else do you want?
WrestleMania 13, emanating from the Rosemont Horizon here in Chicago, ladies and gentlemen.
Who is that? Who is that on the?
I think it's probably one of the Spanish commentators.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was going to say that it looked like Ross, but I'm like, there wasn't a cowboy hat.
I love this. Watch Hart. Austin's just like, oh my gosh, just peppering him with punches, and he's like hanging off of the fence there.
And Shamrock is like right there. He's almost. Oh, and now we got some blood.
We got some color, baby. Got some color.
Austin is he's not busted. Oh yeah, he is busted wide open. You can already see the blood dripping onto the mat. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is where it gets. You're just kind of like, dang, this guy's bleeding pretty severely.
Now, has there been any, like, did he gig himself? Did he cut himself, or was this like actually busting hard away? Like,
when I watched this earlier, I was trying to see where he would have done it. If he did, it was really well hidden. It was really well hidden.
So where did he? Is it like an eyebrow? Because I mean, I know from Mick Foley's.
It's the left side of his head, and man, if he gigged himself, he gigged a vein because holy moly, is he bleeding out like a stuck pig.
Oh yeah, because that's the thing I think of is like he must have, like, if he did cut himself, like he bladed himself, he must have gone way too deep.
Yeah,
because that's that is, I mean, he's already got the crimson mask.
I mean, look at the amount of blood that's on his arm. It's severe. And like, I mean, look at it. It's just flowing. It is dripping. And now, and look at the crowd. I mean, like let's go with the idea that you know, this was part of the plan with the match, right? I mean, this is a way where color actually adds something to the match. And I think they talk about this in the Broken Skull sessions. Like,
and Hart's even still getting some cheers here too.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's still babyface here.
He's still babyfacing. But Austin's in trouble. He's bleeding.
Wow, look at that, just dripping. Like, like not like flowing like a faucet, but if you don't shut the faucet off all the way, like that kind of a drip.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Bret Hart always had the best backbreakers. I mean, they look just vicious.
And that elbow off the second turnbuckle. Again, just looks so good. Everything that dude does looks so good.
Oh, love the use of the chair on the leg. Nicely done.
And specifically the one with a knee brace.
Yep. Well, but he's consistent because that's the one he was working on earlier.
Yep. Totally.
So consistency in the application of the chair.
Here comes a sharpshooter. Is he going to get it locked in? Austin's fighting him. He's got the hair.
There's an eye rake. Another eye rake.
Oh my gosh! Look at that. It's like someone just painted Austin's head. For frack's sake.
Yep.
Dang.
Yeah. It's
like someone took a roller full of red paint and just smeared it across the dude's freaking dome. Oh my gosh. Look at the mat.
I know the mat just looks filthy. It is incredible. Look at Austin, like when he gets like just as the way he reacts when he's like punched.
I love that sell. I love the sell of the crotch kick. Just falls like a sack of crap, and exactly as you would.
I love Ross's call. This is coming down from Saskatoon.
I missed that.
JR, phenomenal color commentator.
Oh yeah,
phenomenal.
Gosh.
But man, is Austin just, oh my gosh, playing it up. Yeah, Austin is a stud. Here we go. Watch this.
Oh man,
no one does that better than Bret Hart.
Looks like his soul's coming out of his body.
Threw himself into the turnbuckle. Here we go.
Yep.
Stomping a mud hole in him.
Yep.
Walking it dry.
And there's the double birds. And getting some cheers. I'd say it's about 50-50 right now.
Crowd is with them through, from beginning to end. I mean, this is just a raucous sort of brawl match. It's crazy. Oh, here we go.
Oh, we're going for the superplex.
Going for the superplex. Although I think in this case, they only go from the second rope, not from the top. But
true.
We'll take it. I love Austin playing it up. Look at that.
Yep.
Playing up the trauma of the move.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, he is a bloody mess. He is an absolute bloody mess right now.
Oh, hangs on. Oh, look at he just touched the turnbuckle, and the turnbuckle is now mostly red.
Yes. Yeah. I love this. Austin grabbing not the chair, but the microphone cable.
Well,
or I guess an extension cord, according to Jerry Lawler.
Now we're and there's their Chekhov's ring bell.
There it is. Oh, great use of the ring bell. Great use of the ring bell. Look at all the blood on Hart. Jeez,
oh yeah. Doesn't doink him with the actual bell though. He gets him with the backing board.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, we're going for sharpshooter number 2.
Here we go.
And is he going to get him turned? And there it is.
And now begins the legend of Stone Cold, ladies and gentlemen, right here. The sharpshooter has been applied.
Oh, my gosh.
And watch what happens here. He's going to try to power out once.
Oh, my God, dude.
Look at how the blood adds so much to it, though. I mean, the way he's struggling, it is just incredible.
And, of course, every strain is going to pump the blood out even that much more.
Yep. I love
this.
He's
wiping it all over the mat.
He starts to fade. I mean, look at it come out. Holy moly.
Oh, yeah.
And Shamrock, like you mentioned, he is committed. Like, listen to him. He's like... Here he goes. And now here's the iconic one. Here's the iconic visage of Stone Cold Steve Austin, blood going down the tooth.
Oh, my gosh, dude.
He's trying to power out. I love how they do this. So he powers out, but Bret doesn't let it go. And look at him struggle. He's trying to get out of it. He can't
And he put himself in a worse situation because he's closer to the middle of the ring now.
Right.
Oh, it's such a great detail.
Austin is fighting. Here it goes. Listen to Shamrock. Do you give up? Oh, Austin's not responding. Shamrock's calling it. Get off him, Bret.
Yep.
Austin is out. He has lost. Bret Hart is victorious. He has avenged himself. But at what cost?
But is it a satisfying win? We shall see. Not looking pleased. Not looking satisfied.
Bret's got some blood on his upper lip that he just wiped off. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I mean, quite honestly, Austin was bleeding everywhere, so it's not hard for that to happen. Jeez, bro.
I'm pretty sure there's people in the third row who have to go wipe themselves down.
Good Lord. So Bret has won. I mean, look at the pool of blood on the mat. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I mean, you talked about, Brock Lesnar having a pool of sweat, an oil slick of sweat. I mean, I got to imagine if you tinted that's what you'd wind up with after Brock's match.
A little bit of my OCD's kicking in because I'm thinking, open wound on that mat is probably not the most clean environment.
Oh, no. Are you kidding?
God.
Hopefully they just doused him in hydrogen peroxide right through the curtain.
Oh, my gosh.
And still selling it. Like, Austin is out.
He's out. Oh, here we go. And now the heelishness begins. Let the hate flow through you.
Do it.
Bret just going to town on his leg, going for the sharp. Oh, I love this. And now we have Ken Shamrock.
Little German
Bret Hart
suplex.
around. I love how he goes into the fighting stance.
Oh, yeah.
Boom. Bret's like, what the heck is up with you? Don't you know who I am? I'm only talking about Shaft.
Oh, and here's Shamrock hulking up.
Oh, he is.
Again. Let the roids flow through you.
And here's the remarkable thing. Bret Hart is leaving the ring to a chorus of boos.
Yeah.
When he entered as the hero. Still slapping hands, but he's not.
Oh, he just flipped off somebody. Ooh, little attitude.
Oh, yeah. Bret Hart, not a happy camper.
No, not at all. And Austin like, damn, son. Can't see anything.
You're a little snug with that sharpshooter.
Oh, and here we go. And the ref's going to take that one.
Oh, that was a nasty looking stunner.
Well, yeah. Oh, where's Austin just drunk stumbling.
And here is where Austin earns the respect of the fans, and we start getting the cheers, just walking out on his own. He may have lost, he may be defeated, he may be bleeding like a stuck pig, but he is walking out under his own power.
Yep. Again, Austin chant.
Listen to the crowd chanting his name. This was the remarkable part of this match, is these two came in as very different reactions from the crowd, and they left with literally the opposite reaction. Hart being booed, Austin being cheered and adulated.
And I like the fact that they didn't play his theme here.
Yes. Great detail.
Hear the crowd.
Great detail.
That's a nice touch.
As he just limps his way back to the locker room. I mean, the whole way, like, he's still limping. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, the crowd can't even see him, and he's still limping.
Yep. It's a little things. Yep. Totally right.
All right. Oh. Well, sir, your first viewing of this match, what'd you think?
Oh, dude, that's a 5 out of 5. That was so good. So good.
That was an incredible match.
Two absolute masters of the craft. I mean, very different styles, but masters of the craft.
I believe I witnessed this. I was still living at home in college. My parents' basement, and I was watching it with a couple friends. And we were all just like floored. It was a match that played with violence, like in a way that wrestling matches don't normally play with violence, which you saw, like the brawl was just wild. The bleeding with Austin was just something that just didn't normally happen. And
especially WWF.
But like we've been talking about, these two as performers were detail oriented, knew how to tell a story in the ring, and were just so crisp in what they did. And so animated in what they did that they played off each other so well.
Mm-hmm. No, it's about, I hesitate to say there's a perfect match, but for these two, this was a perfect match.
Yeah.
For these two styles coming together and the interplay in between them and the story and the way it was executed for the time and place that this happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you improve on it. I really don't.
No. I mean, it was just, and it's funny because we watch other matches and I've appreciated at times the way during Roman Reigns' 3-year, reign, how some of his main events have gone, because there's this big fight feel, with him coming down to the ring, his music, the way he and Heyman are. And, at times his matches, we talk about the Jey Uso match, being that snail's pace, but there's times when that pace had worked, but there's still something lacking from it, like that was in this match that you don't see in these matches now. And I think it's the difference.
The difference between like Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. Yeah. In the Zayn match, there was tension building.
Yes.
In the Jey Uso match, it didn't feel like that. And I don't know if that's I don't know whose fault that is. If it's a creative decision that it was then told, oh no, you're going this long, and they're like, no. I don't know what it was, but it just, for whatever reason, it didn't take.
Yeah. Well, and I think some of it comes down to who they are as competitors. I mean, Jey Uso is one half of a tag team. He's an aerial flyer. It's there's an element of, Bret Hart, when he broke up with Jim Neidhart and kind of went on his singles run, it took him a little bit to get into his rhythm. You know what I mean? And I think that's where Jey Uso is right now. I think he's getting the crowd reaction. I think the crowd is into him. But as a wrestler on his own in a singles sort of situation, there's still a rhythm and what is his style? Like what is he about? How does he approach, matches? Bret established himself as a technical, the excellence of execution, the submission specialist. And, Austin was the brawler. And so, when you look at someone like a Jey Uso going against Roman Reigns, what is Jey Uso? You know what I mean? Like I can't tell you, because I don't know what he's about. You know, I know what he's about from a storyline perspective, but not in the ring.
Yeah.
And you know, there's so much going on around the ring, you know, with Solo and everything else, that it's just, in some ways it takes away from it a little bit, you know?
Oh, totally. But I mean, and this, again, no interference, no run-ins, no shenanigans. No, the special guest referee was a referee. And he was there, at the end to kind of, you know, be the one to put the fire out and to drive Bret off.
Dole out justice.
But aside from that, it was just these two. And it's not something you see now, because it's always about the run-in and the this and the that. Oh my gosh, the surprise person and the swerve. And this was just a great story, and you managed to cleanly pull off this switch in characters.
Yep.
Fantastic. Utterly fantastic.
Absolutely. 5-star match.
Easily.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Easily.
And another thing.
Well, sir, what do you have for In Another Thing? Because I have a feeling, because I'm cheating and looking at the outline, I have a feeling that it might play into our previous discussion here.
I have a theme.
Ah, good.
Jack Perry's greatest hits. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, my gosh.
And by hits, I mean hits through the glass. But
so a quick 1.5-minute video. Okay, cool.
Indeed. Ooh, that was cool.
You can watch it while you're taking a whiz.
Oh, good Lord. Hopefully not.
No,
my end of the thing is keeping with the theme of Austin Hart and this monumental match was the Broken Skull Sessions show on the Peacock that Steve Austin conducted, that the interview he conducted with Bret the Hitman Hart. Really just a great interview between, you know, two guys who very much respect one another. Austin just several times, similarly on the Rivals show on A&E, giving all credit, all not adulation, but just really praising Bret Hart for. I mean, he says flat out, there would be no Stone Cold without Bret Hart. And he recognizes this, and he knows the importance of this feud in the establishment of his character and his character's ascension from being just a superstar to being someone who, you know, transcends, you know, wrestling as a whole. And this match was a massive part in making him. This, as we talked about, you know, during the rewatch, you know, established, you know, firmly established the toughness of the Stone Cold character, which would continue to play out throughout 97 into 98 when he would capture his first world title from Shawn Michaels. So, you know, this interview, I mean, Austin, as we've talked about, has just really come into his own as an interviewer, but you can tell in this discussion with Bret Hart how fond he is of his career and the impact he had not only on you know, Austin's career, but on the career of so many. And so just a great conversation all around. So I think I've mentioned this before, so this is kind of a retread, but I would just mention it again, that if you haven't, if you're a wrestling fan and you haven't seen this, or if you're not a fan and just, you know, want to understand kind of the interplay between two guys who played antagonist and protagonist against one another in the ring, and the respect they have for one another. Just a phenomenal conversation with a lot of great Steve Austin throwing the hands up and talking about how he's a little snug here and there with their matches. And
I mean, apologizing some 20 years later.
It's 20 years later.
A little snug. Like, oh my gosh. I think he's over it, Steve. I think he makes a comment about the Coke, you know, drinking the Coke and slamming him with it. I mean, it's just so funny, you know, to see him in action that way and interview the way that he does. So, yeah, Broken Skull Sessions with Bret Hart would be my high recommendation. Yeah, and I'll second that. And pretty much all of the Broken Skull Sessions, even in some of the ones that I don't find quite as interesting, Austin really does do a good job of pulling things out of people and also managing to discuss stuff. And he walks that line very well. Like you said, he's really coming to his own as an interviewer. He walks the line of being able to tell a little bit of his story without dominating the other person. He really does. He'll get his bit in, but then he gives the guest a lot of room.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. What's your end? Another thing, sir?
Mine is going to come from a little bit more recently. Just yesterday, I kind of was in between stuff and just kind of nothing to do. So I thought, let me check out what this whole, what happened with WWE Payback, the latest premium live event. Because I realized I'm like, oh yeah, I've still got a Peacock subscription, so might as well get some play out of this thing besides our rewatch tonight. And so I started watching Payback, and the first match was the Becky Lynch Trish Stratus cage match. Now, as we talked about and referenced several times here, the SummerSlam Roman Reigns Jey Uso match that moved at a slower pace than the Cretaceous period. Apparently, Lynch and Stratus were supposed to have a match at SummerSlam, and that was cut for time in order to give the main event more time. I submit to you, commercials would have been a better use of time than giving more time to the main event. So certainly, I would have much rather, if I had watched the whole event, I would have much rather have had a Lynch Stratus match than another 15-20 minutes of Reigns Uso. However, I think this might have worked out for the best, because I personally happen to think that these two ladies took this as it might have stuck in their craw a bit. Yeah, that they were trimmed off of the card for SummerSlam, and when they went into this match, there's a little bit of what you see in the Austin Hart match of just going out there and kind of letting it all hang out. Yeah. And really going hard. This match was, I started off saying, wow, this is a really good match. And at the end, I had to text the man they call Tim and amend my analysis and say, no, I was wrong. This is outstanding.
It was an amendment.
I just looked up Trish Stratus's age, because she started out way back in the day during the Attitude Era. She was a valet, primarily to start out with. Let's call it what it is. At that time, women's wrestling was negligible at the beginning of the Attitude Era. She was eye candy. Yeah. There's no secret here. She's a very attractive woman. And so it was like, yep, put her in some tight clothing and let her go out there and do the sex kitten thing, and everyone will ogle her. And then more and more became active in the ring, and got to this point where she really was a really good ring technician. Yes. Like a really good wrestler. Like took herself from A all the way to Z. And so has had a huge impact in WWE. She's a Hall of Famer.
By the way, had a key feud.
Yes. Yeah, the first women's match to ever headline main event Raw. Huge step forward for them, which is, of course, goes to, Becky Lynch being into the first, she was the first main event women's match to main event of WrestleMania, right? So I had to look this up. Trish Stratus is 47 years old. She's as old as I am. And first of all, she looks great. And I don't mean that in like, oh my gosh, she still has the looks. No, I mean, she is like fit, in shape, which to me is like, I am I am busting my arse lately just to try and maintain and not, let my bad habits deteriorate me further. So I have all the admiration for folks who are my age and above, who are in keeping themselves fit and maintaining that. But at this point, like watching this cage match, there's so many times I was like, she does not need to be doing this. Yeah. She's 47. She's had her time in the ring. Her legacy, if that's what she's concerned about in the world of professional wrestling, is pretty solid. Yeah. And she's going out there and taking bumps. And like at one point, she has this gigantic welt on her forehead that just keeps getting bigger as the match goes on and hanging up from the cage. And I'm like, why? Why are you doing this? And it just comes back to, I think that like it's like, okay, you want to cut us from SummerSlam? Let's show them what everyone missed. And the crowd was so into this match. I don't know how the rest of Payback went because I haven't had a chance to watch anymore. But oh my gosh, if you have Peacock, go and watch this match. Yeah. Just really good storytelling. Of course, Becky Lynch playing a little bit, almost kind of starting off a little bit like Steve Austin in this match. They work really well together, and there was a lot of great storytelling in the match. It was a match that never felt boring, even though it wasn't spot. There was a lot of they slowed it down, sped it up. It just never felt like, oh my gosh, when is this going to end? So I can't give enough praise for it. Go watch that match. I would imagine, unless there were some fantastic matches later, this was up for match of the night.
Very nice. Very nice. I'll have to check that out. I watched the LA Knight Miz match. I skipped over the first match, but I have to go back and watch that.
Yeah, I started watching a little bit of that. I didn't get too deep into it though. But maybe I'll get to that. Maybe, just maybe.
Yeah. I've also heard the Shinsuke Seth Rollins match was also quite good, so I'll have to check that out too.
How could that not be? That promo beforehand. Oh dear Lord. Oh, spine tingling.
Good stuff.
Anyways, before we start tearing off into another jaunt, we're hurtling in toward the 2-hour mark. So thank you to everyone listening, and thank you for tuning in. We certainly appreciate all the members of the Free Range Idiocy congregation who have joined us here on the interwebs, who have joined us here through Podbean, through Apple Podcasts, especially through YouTube. We've gotten a lot of folks listening through YouTube, so thank you very much to all those folks. If you're wondering what the hell this thing is about, the Free Range Idiocy congregation, well, we like to think of ourselves as the nicer cult. And the way that you join is simply by subscribing. So you can go to freerangeidiocy.com. There you'll find all of our episodes. You can download them one at a time, or you can really just, show everybody just what kind of a person you are and download all of them. 140 some odd episodes, and just
41, sir. 41.
141, and just fracking just binge them all. Mm-hmm. And at that point you'll probably have several problems. But hey, at least it'll be fun. But you can do that, or you can subscribe to the Podbean app. If you say to yourself, I've got enough apps in my life, then feel free to find us on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, Pandora, Google Podcasts, a whole bunch of other podcast purveyors. Search for Free Range Idiocy. You will more than likely find us. You can also find us on the social medias, because we love us. You can find us on Instagram. You can also find us on Facebook. Both of those are at Free Range Idiocy. We are also on YouTube. Full episodes available there, which is also at Free Range Idiocy. If you have any questions, thoughts, concerns about the show, if you have any suggestions for show topics, or simply you just want to be like, hey, you can send all of those to Tim at freerangeedc.com, and he will be back with you forthwith, if not sooner. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I believe I've finished shilling all of my stuff. I've completed my contractual obligations for the show. It's now time for me to turn this over to the less idiotic of the two idiots who run this show. But not before I ask the second most important question in all of humankind. What is the first most important question, you may ask? Well, come on. We all know it's what is hip. The second being, what the hell did we learn this episode?
We have learned the following, my friend.
Let me talk to you.
We have learned that the Free Range Idiocy congregation is sitting at the edge of their seats, waiting to hear about the man they call Tim's journey through Fantasy Gridiron this season.
Please, no!
No one else more looking forward to it and sitting at the edge of their seat than Uncle Todd himself.
You are worse than Hulk Hogan.
In fact, he's begging me to join the league out of a sense of missing it.
No! You're wrong.
We've also learned in the Idiot's Court adjudication of CM Punk versus AEW, we find for the defendant CM Punk, and that he was wrongfully done dirty. Hopefully has an opportunity to have one final run with the big boys. Following Uncle Todd's phenomenal fantasy booking idea, which we hope will come to fruition.
Yeah!
We've also learned Austin versus Hart is the submission match from WrestleMania 13. Brutal affair, one of the best matches probably of all time. Indeed, with a phenomenal refereeing job and crowd control job by one Ken Shamrock.
Yeah!
We've also learned that Steve Austin knows how to weaponize a tall Coke. So if you're ever looking for a little bit of a pointer on how to do that, just check this match out, and he will educate you nonetheless.
Do it.
And finally, we have learned that overall, this match, as we've talked about, is just two phenomenal competitors. And if you have not witnessed this match but are a fan of wrestling, do check it out. It is a piece of history and something that should be taken in as a exemplar of fine professional wrestling that, quite honestly, the youngins should be, kind of patterning after.
Damn!
With all that being said, as Uncle Todd has already mentioned, and I will emphasize, we appreciate the listenership. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And as we close things down on the range, be safe, be healthy, be kind, be good to one another. And hey, you don't have to go home, but you cannot stay on the range. We're shutting her down for the night. Thank you. Godspeed and good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Make him humble.
Thank you, Shaky.
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
Oh, here's a pleasant sight. Cirrhosis the Wonder Dog.
I'm not drunk, all right? I just have a speech impediment. And a stomach virus. And an inner ear infection.
I beg your pardon, what did you say?
You give me my cheese whiz, boy?
You're such a disappointing pair.
Correctamundo.
I prayed so hard for you. Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
Hey, you actually trimmed that down to like under 5 minutes this time. I'm so proud of you.
Hey, I'm refining. I'm getting better, baby.
And furthermore, I would like to add.
Can I?
No addendums.
One addendum to what we have learned, and you will be on board with this.
No, God, please, no.
No, you'll be on board with this.
No.
We have learned that the People's Court theme brings the funk, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, it slaps, as the kids would say.
Or it slaps. Can we get a little before we go? No?
Is a little bit of a lead in. Oh, there we go.
There it is. While that's going, we've also learned
is the
Uncle
man
Todd,
who will lay down with the gavel.
Uncle Todd will not throw out a hip when grooving to this fine jam.
You hear that guitar right in there?
Indeed. Oh, there it is. Keyboards.
Oh, son of a sea biscuit. Yeah. Loose booty.
Gonna be the theme of the show now.
Play those drums, man.
Who brings the funk? Is it Shaft? Maybe. Here we go. Oh my God! Is your band gonna start learning this one?
I think so.
Oh my God!
We never got this far.
Wow, we're working a little bit of the synth. Very nice. A bit of Star Wars action there. Damn! My goodness. Damn! I didn't think Judge Walker needed such funk.
Damn! You are worse than
Let me talk to you.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Uncle Todd is out of control, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Oh my God.
Let me talk to you.
All right, that's enough of that.
Good God Almighty.
Now get the hell out of here!